And welcome to American Bankers Association's webinar on Franklin Madison Insurance Solutions, Insurance, the Missing Piece of Financial Well-Being. My name is Steve Polestak. I'm with the Endure Solutions Group here at the ABA. We'll get started in just a moment on this program and discussing insurance, the missing piece of financial well-being. But before we get into the program, let me run through some administrative issues. This webinar will run approximately 30 minutes. If you have any questions at any point, please send them using the question and answer area. We'll have time after the presentation for a question and answer session. We'll try to answer all your questions. However, if we can't answer all your questions, we'll reach out to you after the webinar has ended. I would also like to note that the ABA endorses Franklin Madison. Franklin Madison Insurance Solutions offers an industry-leading portfolio of insurance products from top-rated carriers for the country's largest financial institutions and associations. They administer insurance coverage for over 20 million people across America, and their time-tested products help protect customers from families building their futures to seniors filling coverage gaps. Now it's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Andrea Hager. Andrea serves as Franklin Madison as a Senior Vice President of Sales and Client Services. Andrea joined the organization in 2014 and is committed to the company vision of bringing best-in-class insurance solutions through compliant and effective marketing campaigns and member servicing. Prior to joining Franklin Madison, Andrea spent 13 years at Wells Fargo, where she held various roles of increasing leadership and responsibility related to marketing, insurance, advertising, and business development. An Iowa native, Andrea earned her bachelor's degree in journalism advertising at the University of Missouri and her MBA from Drake University at Des Moines. Andrea holds life, accident, and health insurance licenses in all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and Guam. So with that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Andrea for her presentation.
Thank you, Steve. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to talk a little bit about insurance, but more importantly about financial wellness or financial health, and a little bit of research that we've done here at Franklin Madison, and I want to share that with you today. We'll cover really three primary topics. What is financial well-being? There's a lot of perspectives out there about that. More specifically, how are financial institutions bringing the concept of financial well-being to life? And then lastly, why insurance is a critical component of any bank's financial well-being strategy. As Steve mentioned, I lead our client and business development teams here at Franklin Madison. And I've had the pleasure over the last 5 to 6 years to really spend a lot of time with our clients and talk to our banks every day. And it's that perspective that really gives us the business strategies and challenges and understanding of what banks are facing. So thank you for joining today. I'd love to hear from you throughout the presentation. And a little bit about Franklin Madison. As Steve mentioned, we've been in the business of working with financial institutions for almost 50 years. We're about to have our 50-year anniversary coming up. And what we really do, we partner with the banks to help them bring insurance to their organization in a meaningful way that's compliant with best-in-class products. And we also help put the consumer engagement and resources around it to help the banks be successful in promoting that solution. So we like to think of ourselves as the insurance experts, but more importantly, what I see and what my team we talk about each day is the impact that insurance positively has on customers. We see the benefit of it as they file claims, as it benefits the family, and also their personal finances. Let's go ahead and jump in and talk a little bit about what is financial well-being. For those of us that have been in the business for a while, it has about 12 different names: financial health, financial wellness, and really at the end of the day, this broader concept, it's a little bit nebulous in terms of what does it truly mean for a bank and, more importantly, for consumers. And this was a question about a year ago our organization really started to think about and put a lot of energy behind. And luckily, we have the benefit of having so many bank partners that we went out and sought on this journey over the last year to better define financial wellness and hear firsthand from the banks and consumers of what it means to them. So I'm excited to share some of that with you today. So what is the official definition of well-being? If you look it up, it's having financial security and financial freedom of choice in the present and the future. But unofficially, I think it's really a matter of each consumer's individual perspective. And what we've learned, probably the biggest insight across our research, is that financial health is personal to each individual. And so as we think about it and we look at it as a strategy across organizations, we have to keep at the forefront that it really is at an individual level that it comes to life. And if we think about the consumers, I found this visual that you see here on the right. It was in the Financial Brand last year and had been put together by a body of work and research that Fiserv had conducted. And as you look at it, you see as a consumer thinks about financial health in respect to the overall areas of their life, they are rating it in the lowest in terms of their satisfaction with financial health. So their emotional health at about 54%, their social life about 45%, even physical health at 44% rated higher than what a consumer thinks about in terms of if they're financially healthy and they're satisfied with where they are. So I think this really sheds the light that with all the great work that's been done out there in the industry, we still have a ways to go to get consumers feeling good about their financials. And so we took a look as we started into this journey at some of the larger bank institutions in the market and what they were doing for financial health in this space. So you can see a few of those visuals here. In the top left, it's a commitment that is being made by the banks to the consumers to help them on this journey of financial health and making a positive impact. We've seen it come to life in the top right. It's interesting, one of the large banks has actually hired and branded some of their personal bankers as financial health bankers. So that's an example in the top right, really bringing to life that concept of financial health and the consultative approach. And then in the bottom left, and we saw this pretty broadly across our research, is the financial wellness score. Sometimes it was brought to life in terms of a credit score, but really finding those interactive and engaging ways for consumers to start their journey. And I think overall, across all of the institutions we researched, education and financial literacy was extremely prominent on the website. So if we think back to the previous slide and where consumers feel about their financial health, it's definitely not for lack of trying on the part of banks. And each bank seems to have a pretty well-formed strategy that they're promoting and endorsing heavily through their websites, their banker channels, and even through some of their media. So Steve, I thought we might take a break here and open for a polling question. So if everyone would like to participate, our first polling question is your bank focused on or promoting a financial wellness program for your customers? Right. Very interesting. It looks like we've got a 50-50 split here. So about half have a formal program in place, and maybe the other half here do not. We've got some good perspectives here on both sides. Let's jump in and think then about the ever-present millennial segment, which we know through all the research and things that we hear is an extremely large generation and one who consumes information much differently from some of the prior institutions. And so as we dug in and looked further in this segment on millennials, I've got an option or an advertisement here below of how one bank is advertising specific to millennials. But all of the research, and we looked across numerous vehicles, is that they want information that's one, bite-sized, two, extremely simple in nature, which is actually a tall ask when you start talking about personal finances because they can become complicated. But three, and most important, is engaging to them. And engaging in a way that you can see the quote here, doesn't make me feel stupid. And so as we think about the millennial segment and layering that on top of the efforts already at play, it's a really interesting perspective. And you can see in the previous slide examples of how some of the banks are tackling that and bringing that to life with those interactive tools, with the personal financial health bankers, and those pieces. But really for the millennials, financial wellness to them is not financial literacy on bank websites. So after our high-level review, it's still a little unclear, as we embarked on this adventure of what is financial wellness and how is it truly coming to life. So we did an in-depth survey and analysis. We went out to 10 of our financial institution clients, and we had in-depth conversations with them about financial wellness, how they define it, what it means to their organization, and then some of their strategies of how they're bringing it to life. And the research and what we found here is really fascinating as you see some of these words start to come forward. It's security, it's safety, mitigating surprises. It's feeling financially stable and that you can achieve the financial goals. The third one, which will pop up here in a second, is one of my favorites. One of our clients quoted, "We strive for wellness of mind, body, and wallet because we believe that a truly healthy life means having healthy finances." And that belief shows in everything we do, from our values and in turn the services we offer our customers. And that quote really resonated with us. It was well said in terms of how some consumers and banks think about financial wellness is really an extension of physical wellness, and that concept of it's something that you have to work on every day and have at the forefront of your goals. So I love that one, how they tied that together. The last one here talks a little bit about, we break financial well-being into 4 segments, and this got a little deeper into their strategy. It's save first, spend second, borrow third, and plan last. And their philosophy is you can't start to plan until you have today and tomorrow covered. And so they think of their wellness program in that light. And across, this was just a sample of quotes across our research. But I think what we learned at Broad is that financial wellness isn't just a strategy within organizations. For those that are doing it well, it's a vision, it's a mission, and it's almost a feeling and state of well-being that they have and that they seek to give to their customers. And then on the next slide, we pulled in even a definition and some insight of financial wellness from one of the top regulators in the bank industry, the CFPB. And the CFPB, I put the link at the bottom of the slide here. It's actually a very fascinating study if you have a chance after this to read it. They did a financial well-being study in America, and I pulled out here how they defined financial well-being as part of their efforts. It's the savings and financial cushions that provide the greatest differentiation between people with different levels of financial well-being. And they highlight in this study the importance of savings, of banks offering consumers other safety nets, and really with that end goal to help people feel financially secure. So what are the key principles of making financial health a success? This is in the larger program and perspective. We also asked our clients, what does this success look like in your program? And it was these three things that came from them. It was just great advice that we pulled forward here. The first was providing guidance, not content. And the consumers needed a nudge each day and each week. So from a communication standpoint, there's really a lot here if you think about it, that it's a commitment to a daily outreach to the consumers on the financial health side. It's timely. It brings forward that financial education is not enough. And it really starts to bring forward the concept of personalization and how key it is to truly having this program in place. The second one was we learned, and the advice that we heard was providing simple and precise product sets. And we'll talk a little bit about that in context of insurance here coming up. But there's a feeling by the banks that some of the product sets have become way too complex, and it's been difficult for consumers to understand and tie the value of the solution that they're providing to their overall financial goals. And so there's definitely a focus in that arena we saw. And the third was, despite all the great technology and the things in play and how we can bring this strategy forward, a critical piece of it that we heard from many of our clients was that the consumers had to have access to humans when they needed it. And that, as we saw, has been brought to light with financial health bankers, through financial advisors, and many banks even have centralized financial health resources. But those pieces really have to be fully integrated into the strategy. So as we move to the next slide, we wanted to synthesize all of this feedback a little bit and the insights that we heard. And I love this visual that we've put together here, and I thought I'd take us through it here. If you look at the top left spot of the circle, we have savings and liquidity is a top customer need if you're thinking about financial health. And that really comes to life in checking accounts, savings accounts, some of the products that are core to banks today, and giving them those solutions. And beyond savings and liquidity, we know all consumers at different times in their life need access to credit, whether it be for car loans, home loans, credit cards, and things of that nature. And so as they move through the cycle here, they go from credit to income now. which really comes to life in terms of some of the rewards platforms, the cash benefits, home equity loans, things of that nature that come forward. And then there's income later, which starts to move into that planning phase. Annuities, IRAs, there's a number of products that are offered today by banks in that arena. And then legacy planning, which is really what happens as we go into the estate and trust services for customers. But as we looked across the banks and the product set, the protection piece, which is really insurance, is often missing as we looked at the holistic strategy of core products and services that banks are offering to their customers. And as we think about that, we're obviously a little biased on our side, but as we think about insurance and why it should be part of the core offering, we go back to some of the words that came forward from customers and from clients, is that need for security, for protection of assets, and even for savings in some vehicles. And protection oftentimes seems to be missing out of a bank's offer set. And so for your holistic financial health strategy to be successful, I think this visual does a great job of helping you start to align products and solutions to the core needs that customers have and how we deliver those. And if we think about insurance from a customer standpoint, why do we have to have this product set? How does it really translate into a customer's day-to-day life? And so outside of what we heard around stability and security, CFSI, if you're familiar with them as an organization, they do a tremendous amount of research around the financial wellness and health space. And they presented last year some statistics that were a little bit staggering to see that 59% of Americans, experience an unexpected expense that costs them $500 to $2,000. 39% likely experienced a death of a family member, and 23% experienced a sudden loss of income. And as we know, those statistics are just numbers, but as they translate to the day-to-day lives of our customers, that loss of income or the death of a family member can often be devastating even to the best of financial plans and perspectives. And so that need for insurance and protection is truly great for our customers. And yet we know in the insurance industry in particular, there continues to be a gap in Americans having insurance. If you think about 30 years ago, 70% of Americans had a life insurance policy for someone or multiple people in their family. And as we look at today, that number's dropped to close to 40%. And a lot of that's due to the loss of the local street life insurance agents in our market. But I'm excited about what's happening today in the insurance innovation space. And so there's a lot in the InsurTech market, and that innovation is coming back to life and finding new ways that we can bring insurance to consumers in a meaningful and simple way. I think we all know that the days of the life insurance agent sitting at your table is not what our customers want. So for the InsurTechs, they're really stepping up to the plate to bring that simple, easy, engaging process to your customers and allowing them to purchase life insurance and other insurance solutions. So I thought, Steve, we would we'd take a break here after slide 14 and do another poll question. And let's see how many have their bank is offering insurance products to customers today. Well, this is great. Everybody. We're at 100%. So, well, that's fantastic. And thank you for all of you who joined today and for your perspectives on this. We're obviously very passionate about it. We know, though, that the bank market overall, really there are a number of institutions that are not offering insurance today. And so we're passionate about the fact that we need to bring this forward. And so on slide 15, got a little bit behind here on the webinar. Sorry about that. As part of our survey out to our financial institutions, we asked them, who offers insurance today, and how do you think about that or relate that back to your financial health or financial wellness initiatives? And again, we heard some brilliant quotes here from our clients, that financial health is about peace of mind and insurance is about peace of mind. And it's really that easy, so how could we not offer it? Was how one of our clients responded. Being prepared and protected for the unexpected is a vital part of the customer's overall wealth management strategy. And then we had some pretty simple responses of it prevents financial drain, it protects the customer's liquid assets. And I love this last one where it talks about it creates stability, which ultimately elevates financial health. So that quote, I thought, really took it from just protecting what the customer currently has, but also thinking of it as a way to progress them in their journey of financial health. So what are some of our key takeaways as we think about insurance, about financial wellness, and how consumers are responding to these solutions? I think the first is that consumers expect financial institutions and banks to help them reach their financial well-being. It's really the institution, that brand, the trust that they have that they turn to, and they're looking for that guidance, consultation, and the personalization and offering of services to them. And we know that when banks do, that customers are more loyal to them because of it. We've done a number of studies on our side that directly correlate the purchase of an insurance policy through the bank to a higher retention with the bank overall. So in addition to providing that financial wellness, we know that there's positive retention impact to the banks that offer it. And we know that insurance is a critical piece of the financial well-being strategy. And as we think about that and providing the peace of mind to customers that they need and want. And lastly, if you're not in insurance, which it sounds like everyone on this phone is, but you're not sure how to get started with financial health and insurance, it's really important that as we bring insurance through our internal bank institution, that we marry it with the financial health concept. And we make sure that the strategy that we have around offering insurance within the bank aligns to how the other core products and services are viewed in that light. So that is the highlight of the research and the content that we had for today. And I'd love to take any questions.
Sure, there's a couple questions that came in, Andrea.
Great.
And the first one is, our bank has product offerings and programs spread out across different areas of the bank. Some are dormant. How would you suggest bringing those into one space, and what is the best fit?
Yeah, great question. And I think we see that quite frequently with our clients because many banks have kind of come in and out of offering insurance over the years. And I do think it's very important to have a centralized strategy around offering insurance. It doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to bring all of your dormant books into that centralized strategy, because that can often be a large undertaking. But it is important to understand what your dormant books are so that you know kind of what's out there. But as we look at it and we think about that centralized approach, most of our clients, whether it's the retail side that is managing the insurance program or the wealth management side, they've been successful because all of the groups, the retail, the wealth management, and even their CEOs support and value the need for insurance. And so that would be the one thing I would say is you have to really start at the top with an initiative like insurance. And I think the value or the important piece it is in the financial health strategy is a great way to articulate and get commitment at that level.
Great, thank you. And we have about 2 more questions, I think.
Okay.
Next one up. What types of insurance programs are considered the highest value for consumer financial wellness?
Yeah, I think most individuals think of life insurance in this space as a true protection product, and it provides tremendous value as you think about not only for the individual themselves and their financial health, but for their broader family perspective. And then obviously you have more of your living benefit programs like health insurance, which is of increasing interest in today's environment with the state of healthcare and the increasing costs where they are today. So while many may have health insurance through employers, it's often not enough or they have high deductible plans. And so really looking in that health insurance space at any supplemental or straightforward health plans that you can provide is important. And then lastly, I think because everyone needs it and it's core to what banks do, the home and auto insurance is a very important product, part of financial well-being. And I say that because while everyone has it, the rates can vary substantially. And it is true that typically if a bank offers home and auto insurance, that they do have better than street rates that they can offer to their customers. And so really bringing that forward can help with your customer's monthly budget and their overall financial well-being.
Great. Next question, and currently the last question. What are best practices of banks you've seen that are doing well with insurance as part of the financial wellness strategy?
Yeah, there are a couple banks out there, and I won't name them. One of them is a good-sized super regional bank, and they've just done a fantastic job. They have buy-in from the top of the bank, which is important, but their broad insurance offering is very consistent across their delivery channels. So their financial advisors offer the same product that's on their consumer website, and so on. So they've got a very streamlined effort that way. And they do active promotion and support of the product. So they almost think of it as a core product. And insurance in most banks is not considered core. But this bank has made a commitment to it and has done that. The other example I would give, or it's maybe not quite as mature as the first, is there's a bank out there. They've just done a fantastic job of partnering and pulling forward the insurance components through their website and social media, and they've integrated it within the online banking environment. And I think because of that integration, they've done very well as well in that space.
All right, well, thank you. I'd like to thank today's speaker, Andrea Hager, for informative presentation on insurance, the missing piece of financial